Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I recently proposed to my longtime college girlfriend, and before we start on wedding plans, I wanted to formally introduce her to my family. I've shown her pictures to my sister before, and my mom knows about her through the stories I've told, but they haven't yet met in real life. But because they've talked over video calls and are almost well acquainted with each other, it wasn't an awkward first meeting that I was worried about. So we planned a family weekend where we can all relax and my girlfriend can actually understand what kind of crazy family I come from. When I told my mom about what I had in mind, she suggested that we make it a full on vacation with everyone enjoying themselves. She said that it's been a while since our whole family got together, and it'll be a nice opportunity before my wedding. So I looked into some vacation houses and eventually rented one in Montana. It was a remote location with ample privacy and stellar views. Because of our schedules, my fiance and I were to arrive on the same day as my sister and her husband, while my parents were going to join us the next day. As planned, we reached our rental house on Friday and were really excited about the whole weekend. I couldn't wait for my fiance to finally experience what it's like to be in my family. My sister and her husband joined us in the afternoon. They passed out because of exhaustion as soon as they showered and woke up around 7 in the evening. As my parents were going to join us until the next morning, we decided to pass the time drinking and playing games. I went down to the convenience store in the afternoon to buy some groceries and beverages. As the house was located far into the wilderness, food delivery wasn't an option, and we had to prepare in advance if we didn't want to go hungry. My sister and her husband decided to hit the alcohol as soon as they came down, while I started on cooking us dinner. My fiance offered to help me, but I told her to just focus on mixing with my family. By the time I finished cooking, they were finished with a whole bottle of wine and were really getting energetic. I've known my sister to be all fired up when she gets tipsy, and I guess her husband was the same type. After eating, they started an impromptu dance party and we all started dancing around. I kept myself away from any alcohol because I wanted at least one of us to stay sober in case of emergencies. This was an unknown area, and there's no telling what could go wrong. I needed my wits about me to feel safe. Pretty soon, the alcohol I bought was all gone. I didn't think they were going to attack the wine so aggressively on our first night. My sister told me to go out and get some more, but I told her no. The store was about 35 minutes away by car, and I wasn't going to go there so late. But she begged my fiance to convince me, and eventually it was decided that we'll all go there. I was sober, so it was my job to be the driver. I was a little annoyed because I know how my sister gets after getting drunk, and I don't like giving in to her when she gets like this. But I drove us all there because my fiance said she doesn't want to come across as unlikable or not fun. I told her it's called being responsible and it's not boring, but gave in to her nonetheless. When we reached the convenience store, there were only two other cars in the parking area. My sister blasted the music from the stereo as soon as I got out of the car and started dancing with her husband. I told her to cut it out while I grabbed the alcohol from the store. While I was browsing the store with my fiance, we heard a loud wailing, clearly coming from a car, and went outside with the owner. The sight I saw was appalling and embarrassing at the same time. My sister was dancing on top of the hood of one of the cars with her husband. I had no idea how they managed to balance themselves on that thing with the amount of alcohol in their system. The car belonged to the owner of the store because I heard him shout for them to get down. But my sister only glanced at him and continued to be in her own world. The owner again shouted that if she didn't come down, he'd call the cops, but she didn't listen. I rushed forward to get both of them back on the ground somehow, but as soon as I asked her husband to come down, he told me not to be a party pooper and join them. I don't think even a high schooler could behave like the two of them because soon after they started making out right there. I pulled my sister's hand before the owner completely lost his crap. She stumbled back, and I had to use my body to stop her from falling face first on the ground. I told both of them to get a grip and get back in the car, but my sister only got mad at me. She jerked herself away and told me why am I being so uptight about the whole thing. And then she proceeded to throw her phone right at the car whose siren was going off. The glass broke, and that's when everything got out of hand. I was too tired and angry to deal with it all, so I took my fiance and left them right there. I knew there were no accommodations anywhere nearby, and the cops were going to give them a hell of a time, but I still left them there. The next morning, my parents had to bail them out and pay for damages to the store owner. They came home and blamed me for not helping my sister and her husband when they were clearly drunk. They said I was sober and should have had a better handle on the whole situation. Also, they are demanding that I apologize to them and pay them $2,000, which was the total fine they had to pay for their charges. So I wanted to ask if I'm really the a-hole here for not supporting them when they were drunk. I mean, is it really on me how they behave? I'm glad a lot of you agree with me and said in the replies that it's not my fault. I really don't understand why my parents would make me pay or apologize for how my sister and her husband behaved while intoxicated. If they weren't able to handle the alcohol, they shouldn't have touched it in the first place. Or if they knew how rowdy they could get, they should have taken measures before things went south. But seeing how they are actually pissed at me for leaving them in the middle of nowhere and letting them serve the punishment they so deserved, I don't think they're capable of being responsible humans. As for my parents, they are still keeping the same stance as before. They said that if I had decided to actually act like a brother, the whole thing would have been avoided. They are blaming me for not making the smart decision of not going down to the store for more alcohol. Moreover, they said that even if the cops were called, I should have talked to them. But of course, that wasn't even an option for me because my girlfriend, who was in the store with me, was also a little drunk, and I couldn't risk them taking her away too, even though she took no part in what my sister and her husband did. But suffice it to say that the weekend that was supposed to be a relaxing vacation with family and a mixture for my girlfriend turned out to be a complete disaster. I was so annoyed with my whole family that I came back home with my girlfriend on Saturday and left them to their fates. So, a lot was happening behind my back, and I only just found out that my sister was talking crap about my girlfriend to my mom. She said awful stuff and practically weaved a whole story around that single night at the mountain ridge, where somehow my girlfriend became the person who pushed them to get drunk and do everything they did. I can't believe she really decided to spew lies when I was a witness to what happened. But unfortunately, my mom believed what she said, and she had stopped talking to my girlfriend altogether. When my girlfriend asked me why my mom was refusing to pick up her calls, I called mom and thus found out about this whole thing. My mom also said that she isn't really that great of a woman and I can find someone better. That's when I finally lost my patience and snapped at her. I told her it's one thing to take my sister's side, but now she's crossing a limit by insulting my girlfriend. She might be my mother, but if she's so easily going to believe all the lies about my girlfriend, then there's no need for me to talk to her at all. After that, I hung up the call. I'm getting married in a few days, and I wanted to leave an update here. This is more like trying to let go of what happened in the last few months. When I refused to apologize to my sister, they were treating me like a disappointment and a bad son. But when I asked them to apologize to my fiance for insulting her and also make my sister do the same, they completely abandoned me. It was an epitome of an insult for them. And my dad even said that I can't see straight because of the woman I love. So I cut all contact with them. I told them that if they can't be supportive and if they can't understand what's wrong in their toxic reasoning, then I can't associate myself with them or handle the stress that comes with having them in my life. Now I'm about to get married and my parents will not be there. I also left my sister out. The fiance was really upset about how things turned out, and I have been reassuring her constantly that it's not her fault at all. I wanted to write this here so I can let go of it all and only focus on my future with my soon to be wife. NTA, no way you're the a hole here. People reap what they sow, and sister deserved what happened to her. I guess she really did find her other half in her husband because together their two brain cells would continue to land them in such situations if they don't learn from this experience. NTA, you did the right thing, and if I was in your place, instead of asking in a Reddit about whether I'm the a hole, I would be packing my bags and bidding adios to my whole family. I, 16, female, am the daughter of divorced parents. My dad got married 2 years ago to Megan after 1 year of dating. Megan isn't a bad person. She treats me and my brothers, 13 male and 13 male, very well. She lost her daughter 5 years ago at the same age as mine in a car accident. She is much better, but still suffers on her daughter's birthday and death. She's already told me that I physically look like her, short brown hair, and we're both tall. In the past, my parents had custody, which my father stayed with us on weekends and on holidays. But my father got full custody after my mother had to travel to take care of my grandmother, cancer. And it would be impossible for us to go with her, but she visits monthly. My brothers and I have been living with my dad and Megan for 6 months. The 4 first months were pretty okay, but I've started to notice that she's really on top of my studies because, according to her, next year is my senior year and getting through college is hard. My parents don't charge, nag me. They trust me to keep my grades, but I'm not the type to stay on top of books, just normal study. But it seems to bother Megan, especially when I'm not in exam period. I'm more relaxed about it. Several times I've heard her call me by her daughter's name. No, we don't have similar names. Fake name, my name is Anne, and her daughter was called Kate. Even though I corrected, she continued. I talked to my father, my mother talked to him, that I didn't like being charged, nagged. They aren't that kind of parent, and that it bothered me all the time when she called me by her daughter's name, even outside of fights. He always says he's going to talk to her and to be patient, but it hasn't improved the situation, so I doubt he's spoken. Friday, she started scolding me for being on the couch all afternoon watching Netflix. Watching the new season of Fate. Winks. Hehe. I reached my limit after she called me by her daughter's name again and said, I'm not Kate. Megan, stop treating me like I'm her. This is bothering me and this behavior is very creepy. She started crying and locked herself in her room. When my father found out what happened, he got angry at me and told me to apologize because I was very insensitive talking like that and bringing her a wound that I knew was wide open to her. My mom is on my side, but Megan has barely left the room since the fight. I'm feeling bad. AITA? English isn't my first language. A few more points I would like to add, though. She apologizes for getting my name wrong, but in the next fight, she calls me again, and it's very tiring. She doesn't mess with my brothers, and they have similar names. Fake names, Jamie and James. My parents don't care about my studies because I have my specific way of studying. I have diagnosed ADHD, and I found the specific way that works for me, which is to study one subject a day. My grades are very good. My lowest grade was 9, but it was chemistry and I have a hard time. And several times I study, usually I do exercises or read, between class or lunch breaks so I don't have to study at home or I participate in depth study classes. Even though I say that I have my method of study and that I don't like to be nagged about it, plus my grades are good, she says it's not enough. And she doesn't nag my brothers. They have average grades. That's why I associate it with the fact that she thinks I'm her daughter. I don't mistreat her. I really like her. She treats me well and makes my father happy, but her behavior only drives me away. NTA. Megan needs therapy, and your dad is an a-hole for enabling Megan's behavior. I understand the loss of a child must be horrible for her, but to the point where she's calling you Kate? NAH. Do not feel bad for telling her what needed to be said and what your father wouldn't say to her. Your dad should have been on top of this from the start. It is not normal to repeatedly call a child by the name of another deceased child, and whatever help Megan needs to deal with the death of her daughter isn't for you to determine. Honestly, you were relatively restrained in what you said. Someone less caring might have pointed out that Kate is dead and buried after all. Yes, it is awful that she has lost her daughter, but that doesn't give her an excuse to treat you like this. NTA, primarily Dad, for not supporting you by supporting Megan better. I'm a 26-year-old female and I have 2-year-old twin boys. I got pregnant because my IUD failed. My friend Derek, 27, male, is their biological father. We were FWB when the pregnancy happened. Neither of us were interested in an actual relationship with each other, and he told me pretty early on that he didn't want to be a dad. Honestly, we sort of settled on telling everyone that he's their uncle. It just made things easier than explaining our dynamic. He sends monthly support and will watch the boys if I need him to. So he's a great help, and I don't mind the arrangement at all. He was watching the boys for me last week while I ran some errands. Ordinarily, I would have brought them with me, but his mom loves seeing the kids, so I let him take them to hang out over there with her for a little bit while I got some stuff done. He did tell me his girlfriend Anna, 24 female, was going to be there, just to inform me of who all was going to be around my kids. But from what I know of her, she's a really nice person, so I didn't have any issue with that anyways. Some friends of ours had a small get-together at a bar a few days ago, so I got a sitter for the boys and ended up going to hang out. I've been busy lately, so I just wanted to relax and catch up with people. Derek and Anna were there as well, and with them for a while. Anna said how much fun she had with my boys last week and how she thinks it's sweet that Derek is such a supportive uncle. When Derek went off to play pool with some of our other friends, Anna and I were left at the table together, and she started asking me more questions about the kids, specifically Derek's relation to them. I told her that it was really something that she should talk to him about, but to the boys, Derek is just their uncle, and to me, he's just a good friend. She said that when she was at his mom's house with them, she noticed how similar the boys looked to Derek's younger pictures. I tried again to tell her that it was something that she should talk to him about because she's his girlfriend and it's his business. She asked me to just be honest with her and tell her the truth about my son's relationship with Derek. I said that the boys love their uncle and he loves them. I guess Derek told her the truth later when she asked him about it, because the next day she messaged me on IG and said I was an AH for refusing to answer her questions. She said she'd gone to me, woman to woman, to get an answer because she figured I'd have the decency to be honest and tell her that the man she's been dating for 6 months has 2 children. I feel like a jerk because I would absolutely want to know if I was dating a guy with 2 secret kids, and I totally see why she's upset. I thought that it was Derek's place to tell her the truth, but maybe she's right and I should have just been honest when she asked. Just for the sake of clarity, I do want to say that I don't view my kids as his in anything but a biological sense. I said I would absolutely want to know if I was dating a guy with two secret kids, because that is clearly how she's been viewing the situation. And I can understand wanting to know the full truth about the situation. I just didn't tell her outright because she's not my girlfriend. It's not my relationship, and I don't know if Derek would have been comfortable with me doing that. I also want to add that my sons will, in fact, be told that he's their bio father long before they become adults. I'm not going to lie to my kids. The only reason they don't know yet is because they're two, and they wouldn't really understand it. I will start explaining it in age appropriate ways once they get a little older, and I will answer any questions they have about it. NTA. If she wants to know if the man she's dating has two kids or has fathered two kids, then she should talk to the man she's dating instead of harassing someone she vaguely knows. NTA, you didn't lie to her. You told her to go to Derek. That was a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Of course, Derek probably should have talked to her sooner, but that's not your problem.